Do you, I guess, this is great even for me personally because I think about the church I go to and all that. So I have that kind of filter on things. I'm wondering, do you help small churches kind of understand how to serve their community, like where they're at, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a college town or if it's a town of young professionals or if it's young married families or just understanding their community and understanding how to be the best that they can be where they're at. Like, is there a lot of helping churches kind of in that sense, because
Yeah.
they're not a mega church, they're not necessarily reaching everybody that exists. They're kind of in this place.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like how do you think about that? How do you think about helping
Yeah.
churches
Yeah.
where they're at?
Yeah. That's a huge part of it. If you're not impacting somebody, then it's kind of like, why are you there? There's an old saying, if your church disappeared tomorrow, would your community miss you? I think that's kind of the wrong question. It comes from a big church standpoint. It comes from the standpoint that you're big enough for the community to miss you. My question is, if your church disappeared tomorrow, would a segment of your community miss you? Is there somebody that you're touching? Because you're not going to touch the entire community as a small church, but there ought to be somebody that you're impacting to the degree that if you disappeared, they'd miss you. So
Yeah.
my advice, my first piece of advice on that to small church pastors is yes, we have to impact our community. Secondly, you have to pick one thing. Don't try to spread yourself too thin. Now, if you have to try different things to experiment and see which area you're really called to, do that.
Yeah.
But once you
Yeah.
find that thing, focus on that one thing. As an example, in our church a few years ago, here in Orange County, we found that there's a center for abused women and children. And they own three different apartment complexes. And I'm not even going to give you many details because they have to be secretive because they're hiding from abusers. And we kind of adopted them. And we discovered that there is so much work to do there that everything we do, from painting to building to counseling to sponsoring with presents for Christmas, there is no limit to the amount of ministry we can do in these three apartment complexes that house women and children who are escaping abusive situations.
Yeah.
And so we realize, and the heart of our people for it is just unbelievably strong. So we looked at
Huge.
that and we
Yeah.
realized, you know what? That's our one thing here. We are going to fully invest there. That will be our local ministry. And we're the only church that does that. And that's not a put down of other churches. That's just simply the place that God has put us, and He hasn't put another church there. But
Yeah.
we have a big impact there. And it's one of those things where there's not a single Instagram photo of us helping out there because you can't put photos up of where abused women and children are because their abusers are looking for them.
Right.
And they don't even come to church on a Sunday because sending a guy in a white panel van to pick up an abused woman and child is kind of triggering for them. So we don't make any demands on them. We don't make any requests of them. We love them. We serve them. We help them. And there's a bunch of verses in the Bible about widows and orphans, and we figure this qualifies.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's what we do. So we have found this place that is desperate in need, that will never run out of need, that we can meet those needs. We can use every gift at our disposal to help meet those needs, from people who just love on them to people who do accounting to people who fix things up. I mean, you name the gift, it can be used there. And we are pouring everything into that. And aside from the occasional sharing on a thing like this, nobody knows about it. We can't Instagram it. We can't advertise it. We have to protect these women.
Hmm.
But that is part of our call and is part of our passion. And we are having a tremendous influence in the lives of women and children who are in desperate need, and who we are going to sow seeds into their life so that down the road, at some point, they're going to go, at least there was one man or one church or one group of people who showed up in my life and cared for me when I was at my lowest. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So that's what I encourage churches to do. Make sure you're looking around, find a single place and invest fully in that rather than spreading yourself broad. And find a place like that that's local, where the impact is obvious to you. Like, for instance, for years we did the Christmas boxes for a ministry that like gives hundreds of thousands of Christmas boxes every year. And it's a great ministry. I encourage people to support it. We
Yeah.
don't do that anymore because it's hard to see how much impact you're having when it's such a big thing. And so it's hard to keep people motivated when they can't see the direct impact. We
Yeah.
see the direct impact in these homes for abused women and children. It is really obvious, and it helps keep people motivated as well. Both are valid, but if you want to keep it going and keep it strong and keep people motivated, find a small area of big need where your impact will be obvious.